Hello, and welcome to this month's Lunch and Learn entitled Getting Started with Splunk IT Service Intelligence. We appreciate your time today and believe that you will come away with additional tools that will assist you in your day-to-day work with Splunk and ITSI. Today's session will be delivered to you by Ben Lee, who is a Splunk architect and a member of our Atlas development team that has created and developed our Atlas product and features that help you get the most out of Splunk. If you have any questions along the way, please post them in the chat and we'll get to them as we can. And now I'll hand it over to you, Ben.
Thanks, Steve. As Steve said, we'll be going over ITSI. Whether you've heard of ITSI or you've purchased it and want to get your integration started, we'll just do a quick overview of the features to get value out of the product. So today we'll talk about the core building blocks of ITSI, which are the services and KPIs, the episode review feature, which is the ITSM feature in ITSI, glass tables, which are a great overview for your system health for the big screen, machine learning features that help to predict failure and adapt your thresholding for your KPIs dynamically, and ITSI content packs, the way for you to save and reshare the content you create in Splunk ITSI. First, we'll talk about services and KPIs. In ITSI, you monitor system health by first breaking your systems into granular components that represent health throughout your system. Some examples would be the database and web servers underneath an e-commerce application, or the network and firewall devices that support that application. Here in this example, I have a Linux operating system health system broken into multiple services where user activity, storage, network, and compute all contribute to the health of the overall system. So they're broken into individual services in ITSI. The services contain KPIs. The key performance indicators are any metric from log data that you would refer to derive system health. It could be the count of a particular error, the current utilization of system resources, or even an informational KPI, such as the number of orders created recently, or page visits, or user clicks. These informational KPIs can be correlated together with health-related KPIs to show how one is affected as the other changes. In our example system here, we have KPIs on the network service of error counts, traffic, and packet loss. These KPIs roll up to the calculated health score for the network services service. And that health score rolls up to the overall Linux operating system health score. Service health is mapped to an individual device, user, or business concept via entities. Entities belong to services, and KPIs are split by entity. So you would add, say, various web servers to your Apache service, and then see each KPI split out by entity. As an example, in our network services, if we click on error count, we can see that we're only monitoring one entity, which is this Linux server hosting Splunk today. And if we were to have multiple entities added, then you would get a KPI health for each entity, as well as an aggregate for the entire KPI. In this way, you can see where your services begin to fail as granularly as one particular service or server. Next, we'll talk about episode review. So ITSI has a incident management system based on notable events, which are essentially a Splunk alert. You create correlation searches, and these searches trigger on criteria that create a notable event. These notable events can have additional actions. They can create tickets in ServiceNow or alert via email, any of the alert actions that Splunk has built in, and anything you want to build through custom scripting. Correlation searches are different than KPIs because they bring together multiple log sources or a less common log occurrence than a KPI, which counts or averages a common log. An example would be errors affecting an order count. So when the order count KPI changes and the errors raised, that could be a correlation search. Or unique customers with 500 errors. So you might have a KPI that counts KPI or 500 errors, but a good correlation search could be when there are 500 errors, how there's greater than a certain number of unique customers affected. That could trigger a notable event. These notable events come in frequently, and it can cause a lot of noise. So you can group them into incident episodes using aggregation policies. In this way, rather than investigating every alert, you group them into episodes of particular severities so you know where to begin troubleshooting. When a series of notable events are aggregated into an episode, that can trigger actions just like the original notable event. Here's an example of a notable event aggregation policy matching on any episode monitoring sourced correlation search. And so they're brought together into a single episode. What do you do with these episodes? You review them, take ownership, and change their status, just like a normal ITSM product. And you can record any of your findings, drop SPL searches, anything that's part of your investigation in the comments below before you mark them as closed. So you'll see here, here's a screenshot of an episode being investigated. It's linked to particular services and particular KPIs. And there's a comments tab to add comments as you investigate this issue before closing it. All right. ITSI also has some machine learning functionality. First, we'll talk about predictive analytics. So we looked at how the health of children's services roll up to the parent, showing the overall aggregate health for a system. Well, with all of that data in Splunk, we can leverage machine learning to predict our health score up to 30 minutes into the future. So let me show you that configuration. All right, the predictive analytics functionality within your each service's settings allows you to test different algorithms to see which one best fits your data. There are regression and classification algorithms with 3 available under regression and 1 under classification. So if we try to test one of these algorithms, first we'll train a model, and there is a split for the data that reserves a certain quantity of the data for testing, meaning we train on 70% of the data, and then we're going to test on 30% of the data that is a novel set to see how accurately we are predicting. So you'll train your model. And when your model is done training, let's see how quickly this goes. All right, I'll talk to this point while that's building. There are additional views below where previously trained models can be tested against that reserve data, 30% in this case. Here we go. And you get a few metrics on the model itself. Your R-squared value is how accurately you are predicting your outcome, that 70% training versus that 30% reserve data. And the root mean squared error as well is essentially an accuracy in your predictions. We don't have enough data here, evidently, to get a good prediction, but you would use these two values to select ultimately which of these 4 algorithms, the 3 from regression or 1 from classification, best fits your data for this particular service. Then once this configuration is complete and you save, you'll have an additional KPI available for glass tables or to set up alerting for this 20 to 30 minutes in the future health score. You can also use an alert that triggers an action, such as a failover from an AWS region to another, anything that a prediction in health score change could do for your reliability use case. All right. Next, we'll talk about adaptive thresholding. So adaptive thresholding is per KPI, you can have the thresholds that determine when health is good or bad change based on rolling windows of data using common stats algorithms, standard deviation, quantile, and range. And in this way, as your data changes over time, you don't have to manually set your thresholds. So for this KPI, error count under our network services, we can either manually set thresholds, or we can, once we enable time policies and adaptive thresholding, we can train on historical data. I don't have the demo ready, but we can train on the historic health values of that KPI and determine what KPI values automatically to update on a particular interval. All right, next let's talk about glass tables. So glass tables are the perfect ITSI feature for the executive view, network operations center, or site reliability team. They essentially provide a large single pane of glass picture of health, and they're highly customizable. So let's look at an example glass table and some of the editing features you have. So here's an example Splunk provides for a data center. So this would be up on a big monitor potentially, or on a second monitor on your desk. And it's entirely custom graphics, whatever you want to create. And you pull in any KPI, health score, or predictive analytics score from ITSI, from the services you configured, and lay it over custom graphics. So an example of some of the customization you can do is you can change the font size, the particular KPI behind a score, and this is all stored as JSON. So if you have some sort of um, version control system that you use like Git, this is all compatible. All right, next we'll talk about ITSI content packs. Configuring ITSI for your services tends to take quite a lot of time. So ITSI has built in a feature for exporting your content for reuse. It exports it as a Splunk app that can be shared to other Splunk customers or to your other Splunk environments. Splunk has authored the Splunk app for content packs, and this provides a few quick example services and glass tables to get you started with your ITSI integration. And it also facilitates the creation of your own content packs. So if we look over back at our demo, here's some of the Splunk supported content packs. Most of them are just services with KPIs you fill out yourself. They basically drive home the concept of breaking down systems into services. If you would like to create your own content pack from the data you've created in Splunk, that is available on the data and your integrations tab as well. So I'll show you how you can export your ITSI content to a Splunk app. You simply go to the authored content section, create content pack, and give your app a name and description. And you're able to add, if you want to share this on Splunkbase or somewhere like that, you can add icons and screenshots and give prerequisites if your data sources for your KPIs have particular add-on prerequisites. Then you're able to add anything you create in ITSI, from correlation searches, glass tables, service analyzer views. So here we will check the root service of our example Linux tree. And you see that it automatically includes all of the child dependencies. And it is giving us an overview of what we would build. We'd be including one team, which is the role-based access control solution ITSI uses, and all of our Linux services. So you simply press build and you wait for a status of complete, and there'll be a download link. Then you can share this content pack on Splunkbase or with another Splunk environment. All right, we won't wait for the download link to appear, but after you've ran through your progress here, oh, there it is. Okay, yes, you get a download link, and that app is ready to publish on Splunkbase or share to anyone you want. Speaking of Splunkbase, there are a good number of Splunkbase content packs available to help you shorten the time to integrate with ITSI. Kinney Group actually has quite a number on Splunkbase too. We have tried to target our content packs around shortening the time to break your systems down into individual services. So our content packs are like building blocks that fit together to represent your particular application without you doing all that manual work. Here's an example of the long list of content packs that we published. You simply go to Splunk Base, type in Atlas ITSI content pack, or simply content pack, and you will see numerous ITSI content to download. We do have a blog post on installing contents. It's been linked in the chat, and we have found great value in Splunk's own ITSI documentation. It's got navigation links to the different features of ITSI and troubleshooting sections on each page. So if you have any questions, please leave those in the chat, and we'll get back to them. And you can always reach out to kennygroup.com/support, and we'll answer any question you have.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for the information you presented today. I hope that those out there who've been watching along found this interesting and educational. So yeah, at this time, continue or go ahead and put any questions that you might have out in the chat. And while you're doing that, let me tell you a little bit more about our Expertise on Demand and Atlas. Expertise on Demand is a subscription service. It's kind of like a phone a friend style support. The service can be utilized in as short as 15-minute increments, either by submitting an email, filling out a ticket, or scheduling a phone call. It fits perfectly between traditional professional services and just the traditional I'm just going to submit a ticket kind of support. Our Atlas product, as I mentioned before, it is designed. It's a collection of elements that provide that little extra help to get the most out of Splunk. So with that, let me post in the chat next month's Lunch and Learn. It will be on the common information model. So that should be very interesting. So go ahead and sign up for that. And doesn't look like there's any questions at this time. Thank you, Ben. And thank you, everyone out there. And if you do think of something in the meantime, you see the kennygroup.com/support where you can open a ticket or send an email to support@kennygroup.com. And with that, I will let everyone go off and finish up your lunch. Thanks all, and have a great day.